Hello, everyone. Sorry about the technical difficulties that we've had. This is Christina Jones, your Chief of Philanthropy, and we've had a little bit of a glitch with the system. We're using Microsoft Teams Live, and to be really honest, what happened is my capable team set up this whole webinar, but they forgot to put me as the organizer presenter so I could start the meeting. Don't you love it when the best laid plans don't work out? So we're working to get Paul Cianciolo on the line, and we'll start in just a moment as soon as I can make that happen. While we wait, you'll see that up in the top right-hand corner is a question mark box where you can actually post your questions so that we can start to be preemptive on that, as well as leave your comments, etc. So thank you again for being part of this, and give us just another minute, and we promise to make this as short as possible to honor your time this evening. I see a couple of people have joined us, and I just want to share that we've had some technical difficulties, and we're working to get Paul Cianciolo on the line. Bear with us just a moment more, and I am texting him to see how he's being able to log in. But thanks for your patience. We are working to remedy this. Hang on just a minute more, and we will get things going, I hope. Let's see. Okay, right now we have Paul says he's signed in as anonymous. Give us just a minute more. I'm going to figure out what the solution's going to be. Almost have it. Nothing like making decisions very quickly. Okay, getting closer. All right, just a moment more. Oh, I'm sharing the wrong thing. Let's see. So I believe that I'm not sure how to fix this at this juncture in time. So Paul, we're going to do this a little differently, just so that we keep people going in terms of information. Because I sure would like to have your voice on here, but I'm not sure how to solve it. So what I will do is start through the presentation, because it's material that I'm also familiar with. I don't want to waste people's time. And Paul, you have expressed permission to actually either type in the comment box or text me if I get something incorrect or need to cover something a little bit different. How does that sound? Because I'm not sure how to remedy anything else. So let me get that information from him, and then we'll just dig in. Let's see. All right, so he's working on a workaround on his side. So first, let me say, welcome to the CFC webinar. You've been extremely kind to wait for 10 minutes while we had this technical difficulty. So this is our second year from a field fundraising perspective to offer the combined federal campaign education materials through our field fundraising side. And we learned quite a few lessons from that last year. Major Jim Matthews, Speedy Matthews out of the Virginia wing, has been leading our charge on CFC the last couple of years. And what we realized is several years ago, they actually changed their fee structure in terms of the application process. So there's not only a fee to apply, there's also a fee to be listed as part of your area CFC campaign. And so we've been doing some analyzing to say, is this a good return on investment for local units? And we're still in that exploration process. I will tell you that national headquarters was not part of the CFC campaign last year. We are this year. So it's allowing us to do some in-depth look at the 40 plus units that used to be involved with CFC. Last year, there were 6 units involved. There are 5 units plus headquarters involved this year. So we'd love to hear your feedback if you've been a participant in the past, and why you may or may not have continued on. And then we'll also be able to provide better guidance moving forward. So this is a joint effort in terms of what Paul has researched and learned. Also, the reason has been asked to be the CFC coordinator is specifically because of his experience in applying through the National Capital Wing and with some success. So we'll go ahead and dig into the presentation, but CFC does stand for Combined Federal Campaign. If this is so new to you that you've never even heard about CFC, this is a campaign for federal employees to support their favorite charities, and it's charities that have applied and that are actually listed. Similar to what I would say a United Way campaign might be in your community, this is in essence a United Way campaign for federal employees that only happens once during the year, and that period has been open from about the middle of October until the end of December. And of course, we're also in the application process for this. So let me go ahead and dig in. So it was established in 1961 by an executive order. It has raised over $8 billion. I mentioned it was for employees in the federal workplace. In case you're curious, it's overseen by the Office of Personnel Management. I said it ended in December. Paul's already got me corrected on a slide that it ends in early January. And for those that participate, then the disbursements start to take place April 1st of the following year. So for instance, the campaign that's running right now for federal employees, after April 1st, those disbursements would come through, and then we'll continue on through the next 11 months because federal employees are given an ability to do payroll deduction. So it's not just a one-time gift. So here's the CFC timeline for CAP units, and I'm going to pause right here and see if he's gotten a link so he can join. All right. Here we go. All right, Paul, just so you know, the Google Hangouts Meet is installing on my phone, so I can open this up and have you join me. So the written fundraising approval is according to our CAP regulations, 173-4. One of the items that you'll need to apply is actually what's called an IRS 990, a pro forma. And so as CAP National, we actually instead of filing a tax return for nonprofits, nonprofits of larger sizes are required to file what's called a 990. And while that's great for our national organization, what that means for you locally is that you want to have numbers that represent your local footprint, right? You don't want to have CAP national headquarters, the whole enterprise, our entire budget as part of that application process. And so you will need that, and we'll talk more about what that looks like. And that's signed by your wing financial administrator, and we can tell you how to access that person during this webinar. And so this period has opened for the application process, and the way to do that is you go to cfccharities.opm.gov, and then Paul's going to speak more about this record owner account info and e-services. That's something that I'm not as familiar with because I haven't gone through as a unit, but he can certainly speak to. And then for the application process, you will also need to say that you're a bona fide chapter of Civil Air Patrol, and we actually do that out of our office. We have a email address for you, and you just email requesting that letter, and we provide it back. And then the total application is due by January 31st. What I will say is that you don't want to put that off until the very last minute, primarily because it takes time to access all these pieces of information. So you'll want to ask for those in plenty advance to be able to do so. And then you pay the listing fee in July. So there's the application fee when you turn it in January 31st. They let you know if you've been accepted or not accepted. And then when you get the approval, you'll actually pay the listing fee. And Paul, I can see your face on my phone. And you're not muted. I can hear you. So if you know where we are on the slide deck, I'm going to hold you up to the speaker. And there you go.
There we go. I had to mute the Microsoft team and unmute the computer. So hopefully you can hear me on there now.
Great. And you're going to see my forehead until I figure out how to turn off my video. All right. So I think everybody can hear you if you want to start to speak.
Sure, yeah. If you can't hear me, just yell on the phone and we'll figure it out from there. Sorry about the technical difficulties here. And I will follow along as you go through the slides here, but I put this little timeline together and we'll go through each section here. So this is kind of a simplified version of what a CAP unit can do. And remember that when we say CAP unit, that means a chartered unit, which is a flight, a squadron, a group, a wing, or a region, and that's considered a unit. So whenever we use the term unit, it doesn't just mean squadron, but any of those chartered units of CAP. We can actually go on to the next slide here. So we're still talking about the wing commander approval and the 990. So I put the 990 in here because everything in the application is based on what the IRS Form 990 has on it. So let's see, we should be on slide number 4, is that correct?
We are on application step number 8. Did I move forward on accident?
Nope, it looks like you can rewind on the team drive, and I was rewound.
Okay.
I just have to click in the current spot. Yes, this is a quick little thing here. So the request needs to go through your wing administrator, and the wing financial analyst will be the one to create the IRS Form 990 for your unit, whatever that might be. This just shows that it's going to be a pro forma form, which just means it's nothing that's submitted to the IRS. It's just something informational. And the wing financial advisor, or WIFA, needs to be the one to sign the actual form. So the signature does need to be on there, and CFC does look for that. The sections down there at the bottom are just the sections on that form that need to be filled out. So you can actually go through the form when you get it back and make sure that all these sections have something on it. We'll talk a little bit about the Form 990 as we go through this. All right, we go on to the online account.
Oops. There you go.
All right. Just waiting for it to
It's
go
showing
online.
on my screen. It says accessing the charity application site.
Yep. All right, we'll start right there. Since I see it now. We'll come back and go in. So these slides are all from OPM, and it's just going to give you an overview of what the application site looks like and where we're going to go. When you create an account, we talked about you need to record the account in eServices. So any CAP internet operation or any account that you create on behalf of the organization needs to be recorded in eServices in the IT module. And that's so we have access to the username and login for that account, because it's for the corporation and not a personal account. So whoever sets up the owner account for this just needs to go in eServices, go to IT, a PA, IT, commander, I believe all can enter that information in. And that's just so we have a record of how to get in that account should you lose access to it or get hit by a car or something like that. When you're using the account, you should use an official CAP email address when you're creating this account. So don't use a personal email address here. Now we can go on to the next one here. We'll go through these kind of quick.
And it's up. I don't know.
All right. Probably just a delay on my end. This shows, basically you're going to see charities that you have access to, and it'll just be, there's the delay. So you'll only see usually one charity here. So on a side note, as the national headquarters, we're going to actually be requesting access to all of the other Civil Air Patrol charities that are set up in there. So we have access to be able to see what's going on. So if you see a request come through that's from the CFC at gocivilairpatrol.org, that's what it's for. So we can actually get a good view of everything here. So you're going to see something like this, and you're going to see the Start Application button. Here, when you're in progress, it's going to show in progress. We can go on to the next. Okay. This is just where it shows the home screen. And you can go on to slide 9 where it says homepage, main menu, the second one.
Got it.
And this just shows you what the different buttons do. Home takes you to your charities list. Access lets you see if you've requested access to anyone else. So if, for instance, you're on the wing level and you have several squadrons that are participating, the wing administrator would probably want access to all of these as well. So you should expect your wing administrator to request access, or let them know that they should request access so they can see all the donor information and when all the payments are getting sent. Next one, access menu. That's just what it looks like. We'll go on to user roles. There's two different roles that you have. One's as an owner, one's as an editor. You want to make sure that you can give your wing administrator access as well on here. But if you want other people in your unit to see stuff, you do have that option, but probably don't want to start getting too many accounts on here. Next slide, add a user. Just shows you the button to press to show that. Next slide, to request access to an existing charity. That's where the button actually is.
And Paul, I think what's going to be interesting when folks log in is in some cases, if it's a brand new login, they'll be able to select if their unit has been listed before rather than start a brand new one, correct?
Yes, it's going to be by the EIN number for CAP. So if you've had a charity number before, you want to use that when you log in, but I'm not sure exactly how the new online system will work with that. But the next slide is starting a charity application. When you see this, you want to make sure to go through this and click the independent. So every unit in CAP would be considered an independent, and national headquarters would be considered an independent charity, which means they're not part of another charity or federation. So we don't need to go into that, I don't think, just that we're independent.
And I without going into it either, what I will say is there's special rules and regulations for applying as a federation, and it requires that there are at least 15 individual units that go under that federation and the management thereof. And so at this juncture, we're not recommending that from our level, and so that's why it's best to apply as independent at this juncture.
Yep. All right, go on to the timeline slide again.
Okay.
To the application part. So this will go through, we want to make sure that every unit in CAP is considered a bona fide chapter of the nonprofit. So during the process, you're going to need to send an email to that cfc@gocivilairpatrol.org and request a bona fide chapter letter or memo that Christina is going to send back to you. And basically there's some requirements on there that we have to make, and that's how CFC knows that there's more than one Civil Air Patrol out there. So this is an important step to do before the deadline hits. And that deadline is January 31st for the application to be completed. So that gives you an idea of you need to get that done ahead of time. The application fee for each independent unit that applies is $365. So if you don't think you can raise more than $400, it's probably not worth applying for in the first place. And once we get access to the other charities or the other CAP units that have applied out there, then we can kind of start to take a look at this to see what other units have brought in and get some best practices and see which ones are worth it and which ones aren't. All right, so let's go on to the required documents that you'll need as part of the application.
Okay, it's up.
All right. You're going to need areas of service. This used to be called Attachment A for those that have done CFC before, but they're little they're usually 1 or 2 sentence statements that say, what have you done for the community? And we'll get back to, I believe that, but it's a simple word of, we flew 15 cadets on orientation flights or something to that effect. So it's things that you have done. If you're doing it as a wing, the easiest way to get this information is to look at your legislative day handout, which is done through Public Affairs and Government Relations. And that handout is updated every year, and that includes a lot of really good information that you can use for this. We're going to have to IRS determination letter, which you can get off the national website. It'll need to be submitted.
Yeah, and Paul, we keep that actually at gocivalairpatrol.com/fieldfr. There's a lot of resources there, and that's where that determination letter lives.
Okay, good. Then we're not going to have a group exemption list, so you don't need to do that. But the parent organization verification, that was that letter that we talked about, that bona fide chapter letter. Financial statements. The financial statement thing is, we'll get into that a little later, but it depends on how much revenue that your unit has. If you're a wing, most likely you'll need to submit some financial statements from national headquarters as well to go along with the IRS Form 990, which everyone will be a pro forma 990 that a WIPA or wing financial analyst creates. And then the DBA name, that's going to be on that same letter of the parent organization verification. And we'll get back into that. So we can go to the application process. This just says if something's missing, the whole online system is going to tell you that something's missing. So it kind of forces you to fill everything out so you don't miss anything. All right, step one is just the contact information. So this is going to be who in the unit is going to be responsible for getting emails when people have questions, or if there's a CFC charity fair, or they want information. So it could be a generic email, but it should usually be a public affairs or government relations person for this. Step two is clicking on the application, or the application type, which is always going to be as independent. You'll see down there that there's an option to check this FSYA, MWR, if your organization is on a military base. And there are a lot of CAP units on military bases. However, we don't want to check that box because the requirements are to submit a letter from the base commander along with this. And there's a whole checklist that goes with that. And part of that is the base commander is certifying that no appropriated funds are being used in the organization. And since Civil Air Patrol gets appropriated funds, we want to stay away from that. But that's something we can look into. The only benefit there is on the CFC search page, you can actually search by military installation. So I haven't found that that's any benefit. So far, for National Capital Wing, what we have done is we haven't had that. And we've, over the last 10 years that we've done this, we have received about 50,000 in donations over the past 10 years. A lot of that really has to do with the marketing. When we get to that slide, I'll talk more about that. Let's see, where are we here? Step 3, go on to that. Basically, when you see this step, you just have to click yes. If you click no, then you're screwed. So you need to click yes. Step number 4, that you're a local charity. So every unit is local, at least at the state level or at the city level. This is where you're going to put your services in, schedule the services and what you actually do for the community. So we go to the next slide. This is that certification of local presence that says your unit is local. You need to have a service address, which is the unit address, hours of operation, when somebody could physically come to that unit. So if you're a squadron, that would just be when your squadron actually meets, and that's a transparency thing. So someone could actually physically come and be there. The other thing that's required is that you have a dedicated phone number. I know there's a lot of squadrons that probably don't have a dedicated phone number. It should not be your squadron commander or your recruiting person's personal phone number. If you don't actually have a dedicated phone number for a squadron, I would suggest putting down the wing headquarters phone number and using that and letting your wing administrator know that you're using that as a phone number. I've seen other squadrons do that for other items. Same thing with the address. If you don't have a physical address you can always use the wing headquarters address. All right, next step, or we're still on step 4.
And Paul, this is the schedule of services. You mentioned it's the report to Congress that's done for each wing, and that's available at cap.news. If you go to that website, you can do the drop down and find your individual wing reports.
Yep. So as we go through these areas of service, what you want to do with these little 256 character statements is use active words and actually put in there, you know, we flew so many Homeland Security missions. We participated in some STEM fair, our unpaid, so as an example, offered STEM enrichment to 110 youth ages 13 to 19 with lessons in rocketry, drones, and robotics. Excuse me. So you kind of get the idea there, is to really put down what your unit is doing in the local community. So we can actually skip ahead to step 5 here. I just included some of the other slides just in case you need to take a look at them. This is the exemption status. Squadrons or any unit is going to check option number 3. And that basically says that you're a bona fide chapter of a national organization. And this is where we would upload that letter from national headquarters that says you're a chapter. Go on to step 6, IRS determination letter. We already covered that. It's just updating it here. Oh, I should have moved that slide up one. So let's go to the doing business as slide. So we want everyone to use this format right here. So it says Civil Air Patrol official unit name and your charter number in parentheses if you're below a wing. So as an example, Civil Air Patrol Arlington Composite Squadron, and then in parentheses the charter number. One reason for this is that is your official name is always having Civil Air Patrol before it. And we want your charter number in there as your DBA because there's a lot of squadrons out there that have the same name. For example, there's at least 3 Arlington squadrons in Civil Air Patrol across the country. So there's actually a hyperlink on that Y. I don't know if you can click that, Christina, and pull up the website. Should be a web browser that opens up and pulls up the CFC search.
It is doing it.
All right. I'll wait for my computer to catch up here. If you want to go ahead and in the search bar, just type in the word Civil Air Patrol and search.
Okay, I'm working with one hand. The other one's holding the phone. So hang on. Okay. All right. I'm showing.
All right. Yeah, you should see a list there. And if you look at, there's a list of a whole bunch of Civil Air Patrols that are capitalized, because that's how the IRS actually puts all the names. So if a user is searching for Civil Air Patrol, and normally that's just how someone's going to go to the CFC website and search for who to donate to. That's all it shows is Civil Air Patrol, and then it shows the city and state. And that's it.
And actually, I don't know that this is sharing what I just searched. I just noticed that. Thanks for the comment by one of our users. So let me see if I can pull it up here.
Oh, good. I thought it was just me.
Nope, it is me too. And let's see, content. Let's see. I'm not sure I know how to do that. I'm having the same kind of issue as before. So what I'll do is we'll take a screenshot and show that for people.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the idea here is basically if you go to the website, if you hover over that, let me pull it up here. If you go to cfcgiving.opm.gov, so anyone that's on the computer now can do that. So it's a good exercise for everyone that's on there. Go to cfcgiving.opm.gov, and you'll see, click on search for charities, and then go ahead in the charity, enter a name, just put in Civil Air Patrol, and take a look at what comes up. Just to give you an idea of
And I actually posted that in the live event Q&A. If people want to just click that link, they can.
Okay.
And Paul, I also noticed down there at the bottom, your listing statement, you have the 256 characters that you utilize.
Yes, that we'll get to when we go through the listing statement. Future slide. So on that website, just to take a look at how we have Civil Air Patrol on there, so you can see that not having the DBA name on there correctly will confuse people on who they're actually searching for. The other thing is, I found that there's actually a Civil Air Patrol unit that doesn't have Civil Air Patrol anywhere in their name. So if you type in the word squadron in the search bar, you'll actually find a CAP unit that's there. I think it's Maryland, St. Mary's County Squadron. So that's another reason why we want to make sure that Civil Air Patrol is actually in the name, because that's so if someone was doing a search, they would never find that unit unless they knew to look at the charity number or the EIN. So we can go on to the next set of slides here. Back to step 7.
It's up.
All right. Waiting on my delay here. All right, so you're going to get to these certification statements, and this is going to say how much revenue does your unit have. And this is going to be all based on that IRS Pro Forma 990. So if you're a squadron, most likely you're going to be under 100,000. Now, that also includes real estate. So if you're a squadron that maintains an aircraft or owns real estate, you could be over the 100,000 mark. It just depends on how that comes out. So most of them will be under, I think, and then wings will probably be in the 100,000 to 250,000 mark. And that just means if you need to provide audited financial statements to go along with this, and that we would get from the finance department, and that'd just be the national financial statements, which are available on the national website under the About section. So we can go on to the next step there. So most people are going to click that option 3, less than 100,000. Then you don't have to worry about any financial statements. We can go on through to the step 8, where it says Form 990 again.
Okay.
We're going to click option 2 here, which is a Pro Forma 990. That means you as a squadron or a unit do not need to send an IRS Form 990 to the IRS. That's all. Basically, that's all that's stating, and then you're going to upload the form that the wing financial analyst gave you and make sure that everything's correct on there. So the next 2 slides are actually just a checklist to make sure that everything on that Form 990 is what needs to be filled out. And they are sticklers about that. It does need to be signed. Everything needs to match up correctly. I think we'll probably have to make a checklist for the wing administrators and and Wing Financial Analysts, so they all know how to standardize what they need to fill out. We can go to step 9, which is your fundraising calculation. So again, this is going to have a box here, and you're going to take a look at that Form 990 that the Wing Financial Analyst prepared, and if you click on the little icon for each of these items, it'll say, go to the 990 section, whatever, line number, whatever, and fill in that information. And that's basically saying how much of your funds are actually being used on fundraising. So a little note there that we need to make sure that when you actually pay the application fee for CFC and any listing fee, that you're actually recording that, or your wing administrator is recording this as a fundraising expense, because this is where that number comes from. So it's important that you let your wing administrator know, however each of your wings does it, that your payments for this fee is a fundraising expense. So another example of what a fundraising expense is, let's say you're going to sell little balsa wood airplanes that have your CFC number on it, or your website or something like that. So you're going to resell them for $5 and you bought them for $1. So that actual expense of buying that item for $1 is a fundraising expense. So you want to make sure whenever you do something like that, or t-shirts. One example, actually t-shirts is a better example. So if you're buying Squadron t-shirts for $2 and then you're selling them for $10, when you as a squadron buy those t-shirts, you need to make sure that your wing administrator is recording that expense as a fundraising expense. And this is where this all plays out, is on this form, so it's all accounted for correctly. All right, let's go to step 10, governing body. For every unit, that's actually going to be the finance committee. So you're going to put the number of voting members for both in there as whatever your finance committee is. And on that Form 990, we'll actually you can go on to slide number 39, go over to, it'll show the bottom of the Form 990, and that's actually where your finance committee is actually listed on there. And we need to make sure we put a 0 in for a compensation. So those are the people that are making the determination that means your unit is financially sound. All right, and let's go on to step 11, is verification. You have to check yes to all of these items, or the application won't go through. So don't be afraid of clicking yes on those. If you're in compliance and doing your job as a finance committee, then everything is working out and it's good. All right, just a couple other follow-on things on the application. This is what the application dashboard looks like. So you can see the different items. So it'll basically list out each of these different items as we've gone through them, each of the steps, and see, have you uploaded the documents? Has it been completed? Have you filled it out? Blah, blah, blah. Once everything is green, then you can go ahead and sign the application. That's the next slide. So it's an electronic signature. And then you're going to pay the application fee, which is the next slide, what it looks like. Then we'll go to the next slide, which shows the application and listing fees. Because we're a local independent organization, the fee again is $365. The listing fee down there, we'll get to, that's not going to be paid at this time, but I did highlight those in red just so you can see. That has to do with the $250,000 limit. So if you have more than $250,000 in revenue, which some big wings probably do, then the listing fee would be $114 versus $15. All right, go on to the payment method. For note that this needs to be done by credit card for all independent charities. So this application fee does have to be paid by a credit card. It really should be paid using a CAP corporate credit card. If your squadron isn't assigned a credit card, you should ask why not, because it is an option if your wings allow that. If you have to be reimbursed, that is an option. Just remember that if you're getting reimbursed, you can't write that off on your taxes as reimbursed. You should really avoid that if you can. We'll go to the next slide. Just says that if you need to edit anything in there, you have to click unsigned documents, and then it'll let you edit anything in the application. Next slide on edit application just shows you where the button is that you can edit. Next slide is just what the charity home screen looks like again, what you should see. And then we're back to our CAP timeline here, and we're on CFC approval. So this approval is that whole process is going to be done sometime by the end of July. So you're going to have to pay the listing fee by the end of July. So as soon as it's approved, it's going to go to whoever was in contact email. You're going to need to enter a CAP bank account. So you're going to have to talk to your wing financial or your wing administrator, or if you have squadron checks, that's the easiest way, is just look at your squadron deposit slip, and you can see the accounting number and the routing number on the squadron deposit slip. Since you don't have checks as a squadron, you should have deposit slips. If you don't, just ask your wing administrator, and they can provide that. Or you can give them access to the account and they can enter it for you. But you'll need to put the bank account number, the category codes, and the listing statement in there. So next slide shows all this stuff in the review process once it's approved that you'll do after the application is approved. So there is the characters 256 listing statement, these NTEE codes, a care statement. That's basically like an automated response. Volunteerism is a checkbox that you can do, and that basically states that you accept volunteers at the unit. So that's actually, I think, important to check, because some people, when they're making a donation, they click a box and say, yeah, I want to volunteer with Civil Air Patrol. And we'll talk about that a little later, but when you're downloading the donor reports from the website, you want to make sure to see if anyone's checked that box for volunteering, because you should follow up with them to make sure they have the information they need if they want to join. We'll go on to the next slide showing the listing statement. So that listing statement, 256 characters, we want to put the official Civil Air Patrol mission statement in there. If you don't know what it is, go to gocivilairpatrol.com, and it's right at the bottom of every single page on there, but that is there. The category codes is the next slide. We want everyone to use MOB. Just think of a mob. That's the easiest way to remember it. So Civil Air Patrol gets its nonprofit status from the IRS because of its educational programs. So we want to make sure that educational part is clicked on there too. I have noticed from looking at other units that they're all across the board on what our categories are. So please use these three going forward. Next slide is just in case your application is denied, there's an appeal process. All right, and we'll go on back to the timeline and talk about marketing. So the open season is dependent on each of the different areas. It starts basically beginning of the fiscal year in the fall, mostly goes through middle of January, mid-January, early January, it just depends. They try to cut it off. It's based on it's really based on the payroll federal employees. So what we want to do here is we want to promote our CFC charity number that's assigned to you on everything. So as an example, in National Capital Wing, we have the charity number on our website. That's always there. We have it on the bottom of every email that goes out. All of our recruiting material that we do for the wing, we actually put the CFC charity number on all of our recruiting materials. So we have pens, also with gliders, little things like that. We always include that charity number on there. So your charity number, if you have it for the unit, isn't going to change from year to year. So it'll always be there. You'll also have the opportunity to attend charity fairs or speaking events at different areas. So federal employees, this includes military bases and in federal offices. So at least I think it's important that if you have anyone that's a federal employee, you might want to ask them who their CFC rep is at their agency, and kind of ask to see if you can go to their charity fair, but you can't officially ask. So if someone is already there and there's a charity fair going on, they can kind of put a word in, but you can't officially, as an organization or a unit, email or send a note to that specific federal agency and say, I want to attend your charity fair. So you have to be invited to it. So that's really about just knowing people in the different agencies there. Sometimes there's speaking events where they're asking and doing different events around. So that's a good opportunity as well. So I think with the wing, the years where we've had thousands more in donations are the years that we've done a lot of charity fairs and speaking events. So we can go on to the next one there, just a simple poster. We put these up just around the wing headquarters and squadron areas, just as people are walking by, they have something to see. Next slide, user experience. So you can go to the next one, and it shows my computer screen. So I'm actually a federal employee as well. So right now, because it's the end of the CFC open season, basically on all FAA computers, there's a little note up there that says, go to this and donate for CFC. So they're really pushing this. So you can't, as a federal employee, I can't get away from seeing this every time I log in. Go to the next slide. That's just the landing page that was listed there locally. So every agency is going to have that. And the donate button just basically goes right back to the cfcgiving.opm.gov website. And that just gets you back to where you can search again. Another thing that federal agencies do are they host a lot of events where they'll raise money and they can designate whatever charity they want it to go to. So if there's another federal employee that works there, that's another way to kind of get some of those funds to you. All right, we can go to the timeline again. So what we want to remember is for the donations, starting in April is when they start going out. If you only receive a small amount, I forget if it's $1,000 or less or something like that, CFC is just going to do kind of a one-time deposit. But if you make over a certain amount, they're actually going to break that up into monthly payments over the course of, I think, 11 months. You want to log into the CFC system and make sure that you're checking the donor reports, so you can actually send thank you cards. You could invite them to a wing banquet or a squadron, awards night or something like that, so they can kind of see what's going on, and also to check those donation reports for any potential volunteers that click that volunteer match item. We can go on to the next one there. And that's just basically this whole timeline here kind of is a simplified version of the whole CFC process. So that's where we will leave it to open it up for any questions that we have.
And for the good of the people that are online, you just need to go to the Q&A section, which is to the top right. And there's a little question box. You'll see a couple of different icons at the top, and one of those has a question mark in front of it. And I know, Candace, you had posted a question earlier. I'm going to go ahead and publish it for the good of the group, which was not a CFC related question, but it was about Facebook fundraising. So if you visit gocivilairpatrol.com/fieldfr, There's a lot of different sources of information, including about CFC and about our Facebook fundraising options. So that'll tell you how to go through that. And we'll be having a webinar in the new year about our Facebook campaigns.
Yeah, and I know it does work well. We had one squadron, the National Capital Wing, that did a Giving Tuesday campaign, and they raised about $2,500 just on one day.
That's great. So if you have a question, you can post it in the live event Q&A. And Paul, I'll go to this last screen because it actually has the email address where people can email questions. I don't see any questions coming through. I'm looking for them. I'll also look in the chat box. But if you roll your mouse over your screen, you'll see the little box pop up that has little icons. Paul, you must have answered all the questions. Either that or they're numb, thinking, "Oh my goodness, this is a tremendous amount of time." Maybe you could speak to how long it takes you to fill out an application for NatCap.
Yeah, well, once we have all the information and get the 990 done, and it really, I think it only takes me maybe about 15 minutes or so to go through and fill everything out, maybe half hour at the most. So, but it's basically getting that 990 done, knowing where all that information, making sure it's correct, and then having those little statements ready to go.
Well, I think on that note, I can say thank you, Paul, for your putting this together, this information. I will actually post this on our website as soon as I hang up from here. And then it'll take a little while for the recording to upload, and we'll be able to, we'll edit off the beginning with the technical difficulties, but we'll get it posted probably tomorrow sometime, and then send it back out to the group so that you have a link to it in your email box. But thanks again for your participation this evening and your patience. We hope to continue offering more webinars from our field fundraising team, just like Paul Cianciello being our CFC coordinator. We have Major Lisa Myrick out of the Hawaii wing, who's leading out our field fundraising efforts. And we'd like to know what you want to know. What kinds of information would be helpful for you? Because we have put out a number of resources, and we hope to continue to doing education so that more units can raise more funds. Anything else to add, Paul?
Nope. Just sorry about the technical difficulties. I guess my FAA computer or whatever didn't want to connect properly.
Well, we had them on our end as well, which lessons learned from us. We thought we had it all straightened out, but we didn't. So we'll get it done for next time. Thanks, everyone.